Major winter storm for the southeast, heavy snow for Georgia and parts of the Carolinas. For us here in Alabama, some lighter snow, but a lot of cold and a lot of wind. Maybe enough wind to create isolated power outages across the state Saturday and into Saturday night. Let's dive right into the data here. So you've got a big winter storm warning now in effect for a huge chunk of the southeast over here. Look at this. This would be into parts of Tennessee, up into the Carolinas. So eastern Tennessee, Knoxville, Maryville, Alcoa, back down to Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge through southern Virginia. Look at this, the entire state of North Carolina in a winter storm warning now. That is wild. Then you've got much of east and northeast Georgia and most of the state of South Carolina also now in a winter storm warning where significant snow and ice accumulations are expected. Now, you will note who got left out. Yeah, us here in Alabama, but that doesn't mean the snow chance is zero. Let's look into the pattern here. So this is a pretty classic look. You've got a 1048 Arctic high dropping over the Canadian border. You've got surface low pressure forming down here over the Florida Peninsula, Panhandle, kind of the Big Bend. For us in Alabama, the issue for us is this came together just 12 hours too slow. Had this surface low formed about 12, 14 hours faster, moisture return gets in there, you've got cold air in place, and this is a classic Alabama snowstorm setup, but it's not that. The low pressure formed a little slower, and as a result, we are going to have kind of a Carolinas setup, but we will get some kind of an interesting setup on the backside of this. So big high up here, big low down here is really all you need to know there. We'll scrub you forward in time here. So the thing that we're watching as meteorologists, if you look carefully here, see this little circle that says 504 on it, and it's got dashes. That's a cutoff upper low. It's kind of a lobe of the polar vortex. It's going to swing down to the south. Exactly where it swings is critical because as it moves into an area, before it gets there, it provides lift. Remember, to create precipitation of any kind, you need lift and moisture. We have a little moisture. We have a good amount of lift. And Arctic air masses are very, very sneaky good at squeezing out all the available moisture. So that's what I'm going to be watching. You can sort of see it here in the modeling. This is valid 6 o'clock tonight. Snow breaks out across eastern middle Tennessee and into the mountains of East Tennessee. That's all really, there's no real surface reflection yet down here. This is all associated with that upper little lobe of the polar vortex coming in. Okay, so fast forward, that keeps swinging south, and the latest run of the GFS has this over Nashville by 9 o'clock Saturday morning, and that would create enough lift, particularly in northeast Alabama, to kick off some light snow showers. Notice by now the surface low is forming, which actually helps enhance lift even more. If you look at these patterns in the maps here, one thing to look at, that whenever you've got a cutoff low like this, if you draw a line straight from that to the surface low, between that axis is going to be where you have the heaviest snow if your thermals are okay, if the temperature profiles are good, which in this case they are. This is a snow, rain, or nothing setup. This is not an ice setup really for anyone in terms of freezing rain or sleet falling from the sky. Okay, so then surface low gets deep quick, and the Carolinas get pounded with some snow. We get kind of this little backside upper level deal. How much snow will they get? Well, glad you asked. So what I'll do, I'll show you the GFS snowfall totals here, and understand, no model is perfect. These are going to be off. Some of you may get dry slotted in some of these places, but the potential exists here for over a foot of snow in the Smoky Mountains. Back down into North Georgia, I think Blue Ridge, you get about an inch. Heavier amounts up into the northeastern corner of the state. So if you go once you get to Hiawassee and points east in Georgia, those snowfall amounts really go up. Most of South Carolina, most of North Carolina gets some decent snow out of this. What about us? What's our snow chance? Josh, tell me, is it going to snow here? And the answer is, for some of you, yeah, I think it is. So a couple of things helping us out. Arctic air squeezes out moisture very efficiently, and these cutoff upper lows provide a lot of lift. So if this were to track in just the right way, I do think there's a window in here where you could get some snow in the mix, even into Alabama. And one of the models, one of our better models, actually sort of lines that up. So this is the high-res rapid refresh model. You don't need to know what that means. It's a high-resolution model. It's really good. So Some scattered showers along the Mississippi border today. If you're, this is Montgomery right here, Auburn over here, Demopolis down over here, Andalusia, Dothan would be down here. So a couple of sprinkles out here along the Alabama Mississippi state line. That's not really a big deal. We're not worked up about that. Most of you won't even see that. Sun goes down. Arctic air spills into the state. You get a sprinkle or two in South Alabama before the cold arrives, and then as that upper cutoff lobe of the polar vortex swings in from the north, the modeling here pretty consistent in the idea of around sunrise tomorrow we get this little band of snow that develops, maybe a couple of them. And here's the deal: if you're underneath this, I think it snows. I think it snows kind of hard. I think that the ground turns kind of a frosty gray. It's not totally out of the question. You end up with some icy bridges and slick spots. 10 miles east and west of this band, it's partly cloudy and you don't see a single flake. So the chance of you seeing flakes fall from the sky, I think, is around 20%. But it will not be evenly distributed. You get underneath one of these bands, it snows. You get again, the ground turns frosty. It's not a huge deal, but 10 miles east or west of there, you're not under the band, and there's not a single flake. So this is valid at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. And look what this does. This is a pretty healthy little band of snow that gets down into parts of Greene, Hale, Perry, Bibb, Chilton, Autauga, Montgomery, and then it just sort of keeps popping south from there. Now, this is, I think, a little bit of an aggressive idea, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities, right? The other short-range models are not quite as bullish with this idea, but I want to show you this one because, frankly, it's pretty interesting. This would be tomorrow morning, between about sunrise and noon, and then as the upper low digs in and you get a little moisture return, there's also some hint of a few more snow flurries or snow showers over here along the Georgia border counties early in the afternoon. So bottom line, this is not an Alabama winter storm. If you are expecting inches of snow and you're playing outside in it and you're building snowmen, that's probably not going to happen. But for some of you, I think there will be some snowflakes flying, and there is a path here. There is a scenario that could unfold where some of you, the ground turns not white, it won't be covered, but the ground turns sort of frosty gray, and there's enough to scrape up on the car to make the world's smallest snowman or a snowball or something. So I know you're interested in the snow part of this, so I wanted to just kind of dive into that. But quite frankly, what I'm really concerned about, a couple of other different things. Let me show you this. First off, the bitterly cold air that's headed our way. This is going to be brutal. There's no way to sugarcoat this. This is going to be one of the coldest days we've seen in a long time. So um, I'll lean on the I'll show you the on this, but quite frankly, I think it's too warm. So knock another degree or two off the numbers that you see right here. So this is sunrise, and we're in the upper 20s to low 30s. You'll notice the counties out west, we're in the mid-20s there. It's a little quote-unquote warmer with some 30s back into parts of central and southeast Alabama, but no matter where you go, no matter how you slice it, it is bitterly, bitterly cold. Now it's 9 a.m. We're in the upper 20s, almost area-wide. The green is where it's above freezing. You'll notice at this point, 9 o'clock Saturday morning, almost all of Alabama is below freezing. The modeling tries to pop us back up in the afternoon to 30 or 31. I'm not sure I buy that. I think we stay in the upper 20s all day. Remember, there is snow on the ground still, snow and ice on the ground, all the way down into North Mississippi and Tennessee, which is where this air mass is coming from. So it doesn't really have a chance to moderate at all. It just sort of plows on in here, and it's super, super cold. So bottom line, I expect highs on Saturday to stay in the 20s. If that verifies, by the way, a high of 29 at Montgomery would be the coldest we have seen since January of 2018. So this has the potential to be the coldest daytime in 8 years for the city of Montgomery. All right, then you get to Saturday night, and temperatures drop like a rock. It actually stays windy. Overnight lows plunge down into the teens area-wide. And the really crazy part is wind chills Sunday morning are going to make the single digits because of this. These are wind gusts, and I'll back this, we'll back it up. I want to take you through Saturday. So I'm growing increasingly concerned that we deal with isolated wind-related power outages on Saturday. The raw data here suggesting wind gusts Saturday morning of 15 to 30 miles per hour. And then, as you rock forward in time here, the wind actually picks up through the day. Look at this. This is valid at 10 o'clock Saturday morning, and you have near tropical storm force wind gusts occurring around Montgomery and other areas, right? It's a range, but some of these gusts will be in the 30 to 40 mile per hour range. Again, I think there's a plausible scenario here where isolated pockets of power outages develop Saturday. Now, under most circumstances, I'm not sure I would really play that up because I do think the numbers will be relatively small. This won't be 100,000. This won't be 50,000. We're talking, maybe a few thousand people without power on Saturday. But the temperatures in the 20s with wind chills in the teens and single digits. So those power outages will have an outsized impact because many of you heat your homes using your electricity, right? So I just want to give you a little heads up here that the wind speeds in this, the wind gust particularly, the raw data here kind of explicitly pointing out almost tropical storm force wind. I think that it's very possible we deal with isolated power outages across the state on Saturday into Saturday night. So if you want to think about how would I heat my home if the power goes out, that's not the worst idea, right? I don't think you need to go buy a generator. I don't think you need to go spend a lot of money on this, but it's at least worth thinking about. If you have a fireplace, maybe have a little firewood on hand, right? Now, remember, we all heat safety. You don't want to leave anything flammable near any space heater, fireplace, etc. Never run a generator indoors or in a garage. The fumes will kill you. But I do think it's worth thinking about for you, right? How would I heat my home if the power were to go out? Now, to emphasize, this will be a small number of people, but I don't want you to be one of those people and get to Saturday afternoon and be sitting in the cold, dark house wondering why Josh didn't tell me this was going to happen. So this is me telling you, I do think there will be isolated power outages, and the wind stays pretty high right on into Sunday morning, which that's what sets the stage for some of those just atrociously low wind chill values. Watch this. I'm going to zoom you in here. I'm not sure that was necessary, was it? So this is raw snowfall off the GFS, which we'll talk models and snow in a minute. But what I'm really getting at here is, let's go into the RRFS. I think it will probably be what I like as far as the wind chill is concerned. So I want to go to that's Saturday at 6 p.m. Again, these are not the air temperatures. This is the wind chill. But the numbers here are just stupid. By Sunday morning, look at this. Wind chills are in the single digits to the Alabama-Florida border. And I think we'll have single-digit wind chills all the way down into the Florida panhandle. The modeling hints that wind chills could make the single digits along the Florida state line. Whew, man, this is valid Sunday morning at 6 a.m. So it is ruthlessly cold all weekend. A lot of you are going to ask me about pipes in your home, right? So bottom line there, you need to drip a faucet. In my opinion, what I'm going to do at my home, and I've been called names, I've been beat up for who knows why. I really hardly ever tell you what to do on this. What I usually do is tell you what I'm going to do. And then you follow that, you could not follow that. That's your home. It's your deal. You make your decisions. And if that bothers you on this, just keep scrolling, right? Just you don't have to say anything. You don't have to call me any names. You can just keep scrolling and we'll all have a happy life. I am going to wake up Saturday morning. So the cold air gets here very late Friday night in most spots. I'm going to wake up early Saturday morning, 6, 7 o'clock when I usually wake up, and begin to drip a faucet then. And I'm probably just going to drip one all day. We've got one on the north side of the house. It never gets any sun. It's frozen before. So I'm going to drip it all day and then all night, and then stop dripping it probably around 9 a.m. on Sunday. So if you want to do that, cool. If you don't want to do that, that's also cool, right? Just you do you. You do you. Let me show you this before we bail. I do want to we don't get into a lot of these accumulation scenarios with computer models, but it is worth noting. This is the RRFS, and it has some half-inch, quarter-inch type snow amounts in those bands that set up. And I show you this not necessarily because I think there's going to be a half-inch of snow. I show you this because if you just look at this, right, the way these bands are, and I don't want you to focus on where they are. I want you to focus on how many of them there are and how big they are. If you're in this little corridor, it snows, Right over here, same county, not a single flake. This is not one size fits all. This is not everyone gets something. This is a few people get a little, right? Um, could the ground turn frosty? Yeah, we covered that already. But that's the RRFS. And it shows, a quarter inch to a half inch in spots. This will be very fluffy snow, very dry snow. This will not be our typical wet, clumpy snow. It'll be really hard to make snowballs out of this. It will be very fluffy. You'll be able to take your hand and just sort of scoop it. And as sure as I'm sitting here, conspiracy theorists will talk about how it's fake snow and all this mumbo jumbo. It's just very dry air. It's very dry snow because of science, because there's not a lot of moisture, because the air is very cold. And when the air is very cold, the mechanism that forms ice crystals and snowflakes in the dendritic growth zone in the snow growth region tend to form more cylinders and things like that, shaped ice instead of the big clumps. And then because the temperature is well below 32, they don't melt on their way down and they don't clump up into these big aggregates. They're full of water, which are easy to make snowballs. This is all, freshman level meteorology stuff. So you're going to see and hear conspiracy theories about this isn't the regular snow. It is, I promise. Now, it's a little unusual in how we don't have a lot of dry snow here because typically temperatures are closer to borderline for us. But in this case, cold air is not the problem. We don't have enough moisture for a big snow, but we got all the cold air you could ever need. So just again, when you hear something weird online, probably just shake it off as something weird online. So this is a similar model. This is the high-res rapid refresh. Again, same thing. You've got these little bands where you could get up to, the ground could turn a little frosty. And then the accumulating snow, the kind of more substantial snow will be up on the mountain peaks up here in northeast Alabama. If you want to see it snow and you want to stay in Alabama, Mentone, Fort Payne, Duggar Mountain, Mount Cheaha, those would be some of your better options up here. For us in the southern half of the state, there will be one or two of these narrow bands where the ground could turn frosty, and I really think that's about the extent of it. All right, so I'm going to wind this thing down. If you still want more weather, though, what do you know? You're in luck. Alabama Live has just started on WSFA 12 News. You can stream that, by the way, anywhere that you stream. Meteorologist Madeline Banks covering the weather shifts for Alabama Live and the news at noon today. So for the next 90 minutes, there are consistent weather updates throughout that program. You can watch it on regular TV. You can watch it on your smart TV by streaming WSFA. You can also watch it on the WSFA First Alert Weather app. Scroll to the bottom of the page and click Watch Live. You'll see all of our newscasts there. So that's pretty cool. All right, everyone. Take care. Hope you all have a really nice go of it. Really nice day. And we will see you next time.